content is one of the greatest assets that you can use in your business to help bring in new business that is slept on by so many business owners. The problem is you are approaching it in a way that is not sustainable. You're trying to create fresh, unique content for every single platform, every single time. And quite frankly, that is just flat out exhausting. And there is a better way to do things. And here's the thing, you do not need to create unique content for every single platform. You need one good piece of content that you strategically adapt. One piece of core content can give you 10 to 15 pieces of distributed content, and that is where the power lies. That is the power of repurposing. Attempting to create unique content for Facebook, for Instagram, for LinkedIn, for Twitter, for TikTok, for Pinterest, YouTube, and then your blog. That is where you will toss your computer and be like, F all of this. If you are like me, you will literally be like, F all this. You are going to free up your time. We want to work smarter, not harder. So let's free up some time so we can go enjoy the lives that we're building for ourselves. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Tips Tuesday. We are picking up right where we left off and diving into our content pillar. I am excited to go through this one because content is one of the greatest assets that you can use in your business to help bring in new business that is slept on by so many business owners. So today we are going to be talking about something that causes more stress for business owners than it should. And that's creating consistent content without burning out. And the without burning out part is what we want to focus on. Okay. So just the overview of what it is that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be looking at planning content that keeps you consistent without panicking. We're going to be talking about batching content that saves you time and your mental energy, repurposing content, which is really the magical piece. And that means that you are creating one piece of content and using it multiple times. And then we're going to talk about why you don't need to be on every platform creating unique content for each one. So just strategic repurposing is the key to manageable content creation. And we are going to cover all of that today. So let's get into it. Now, these are some things that I hear from business owners often. Things like, I know I need to create content consistently, but I just don't have the time. I feel like I'm always scrambling to figure out what to post or what to publish. Creating content for every platform just feels impossible. Or I start strong, but I just can't keep up the momentum. Does any of that sound familiar to you? The problem isn't that you're bad at content creation. So let's just take that off of the table. The problem is you are approaching it in a way that is not sustainable. You're trying to create fresh, unique content for every single platform, every single time. And quite frankly, that is just flat out exhausting. And there is a better way to do things, okay? So first, I want to get into the 3 pillars of manageable content creation. And I want you to think about, for a second, think about content creation similar to how you would think about meal prep. People who are on a fitness journey do not cook a brand new meal from scratch every single day or every time that they get hungry. What they do instead is they plan their meals. They typically batch cook their meals at the beginning of the week, and then they also repurpose ingredients across multiple dishes. So they're reusing what they already have. And the reason that they do this is because meal prepping gives them control over the nutrition and what it is that they're taking in. It saves them time and probably even money. And then it helps them stay on track with their goals, making sure that they have what they need readily available. And content works the exact same way. So the first thing in the 3 pillars of manageable content creation is going to be planning and deciding what it is that you're going to be creating and also when you are going to be creating what. So planning means that you are not staring at a blank screen every time you get ready to post or publish something. Instead, you've already decided what topics you are covering for the week, the month, the quarter, whatever time frame that works best for you. And what that looks like like in practice is that you choose your content themes. So, like the topics that align with your business and what it is that your audience needs or is looking for you to provide them with. You map out a content calendar and determine when it is that you are going to actually publish. And the when is very important because your schedule does not have to look like anyone else's schedule. So you want to be planning your content based on you and what works for your business, your availability, and what you can keep up with. And then you also want to plan it around your actual business goals. So if you're launching something, if you have a new offer or something like that, your content should support that. And then it should also leave room for flexibility because at the end of the day, plans change and that's perfectly okay. And I want you to understand that, like, you don't need fancy tools for this. A simple Google Doc or a spreadsheet works just fine. And you just need to be able to list out when. So, the week or the date that you are posting the content, the topic of the content, the format of the content. Is it going to be a blog post, an email, a video? And then any key points that you want to cover. Now, a tip for you here is planning 2 to 4 weeks ahead is far enough in to reduce like the daily stress and overwhelm, but it's not so far out that you lose flexibility. The second piece is going to be batching, and that's creating multiple pieces of content at once. So batching is when you are actually taking dedicated, focused time to create multiple pieces of content in one sitting rather than creating content piece by piece or day by day. And the reason that this works is that your brain operates more efficiently when you stay in content creation mode for an extended period. You get to get into a flow state, your ideas start to connect naturally, your creative momentum builds. Contrast that with creating one piece of content, then switching to client work, taking a meeting, then creating another piece of content tomorrow, and then switching again. When you do things that way, you are constantly context switching, which drains energy and ultimately kills productivity. Okay. So, what happens here is that every time you switch tasks, your brain needs to refocus. If you think about it like a camera lens, when you move, or even if you think about just like your camera on your iPhone, if you focus on what it is that you want to shoot, and then that thing moves or you move your camera, you then need to refocus. Your brain has to do the same thing when you are continually switching tasks. So when you batch your content, you eliminate that switching cost. Okay. So, what batching looks like in practice is instead of writing one email on Tuesday, creating one social post on Wednesday, and then recording one video on Friday, you actually write 4 emails in one 3 hour block, create 10 social graphics while you're in Canva or Photoshop or whatever it is that you're using to create your graphics, and then maybe even record 3 to 4 videos in one afternoon. Now, all of those things can be broken up into 3 separate sessions if all of that feels like a lot to do in one day. But the idea here is to batch things together instead of piecing them together one by one. Okay. The way that you successfully do this is by doing these 5 things. You want to block dedicated time, prepare in advance, remove any distractions, separate creating from editing, and then batch similar tasks together. Blocking dedicated time means that you are actually creating sessions on your calendar, like meetings, and treating them as non-negotiable to get your things done. Preparing in advance means that you have your topics, your outlines, and any resources ready before you get started. So you don't want to waste batching time on planning. Planning is something that you do before you get into batching mode. Removing distractions like closing out your email, silencing your notifications, using website blockers if needed so that you can fully focus, because the full focus is key. An example of that is while I am recording this video, I currently have all of my devices on Do Not Disturb. Nobody can get through to me right now until I finish this video because I do not want to get distracted and have to figure out where to pick up from, or worse, start all over. Separating creating from editing means that you are running a first pass to create all of the things and then a second pass to edit all of the things. And because you don't want to switch between creating and editing, it's another one of those things that kind of breaks the flow. When you get into creating mode, you're using that more creative energy. When you are in editing mode, you are refining, you are going through and checking things over and revising. Those are two different tasks for our brain. Okay. So here's the thing. You don't need to batch a month's worth of content at once. Even batching 2 to 3 pieces at a time is significant progress. So start small and build it up as you get comfortable with whatever processes you put in place that work for you. Okay. Now, moving on to the third pillar of this process is repurposing content. So creating once and using it everywhere. And this is actually where the magic happens. This is what makes content creation sustainable for busy business owners like you. Repurposing means that you take one piece of core content and then you adapt it for multiple platforms, formats, and uses. And here's the thing, you do not need to create unique content for every single platform. You need one good piece of content that you strategically adapt. So giving you an example from right here in the studio, right? Every week I write a Tips Tuesday email. That's my core content. At least it started out as my core content. And with that, here's what I am able to do with that one email. I am able to record it as a YouTube video because different people consume content in different ways. I also am able to cross-link that YouTube video with the newsletter that I send out. So if you get the newsletter and you see the video and video is your preferred method of consuming, you can go right into it that way without having to read the full newsletter. But then also in the video, I link that this is published in my weekly newsletter, so you can go ahead and check it out there. I publish it as a blog post. So it's the same content optimized for SEO, a little bit more detailed. Somebody who's reading the content on the blog is probably not just wanting the Cliff Notes version. They are actually looking to dive in a little bit deeper into the topic that we are talking about. So with that said, that is also linked in the YouTube video description so that people have the ability to check that out if they decide they want a little bit more. From that content, I am also able to break it into social media posts. So I can take and pull out key points for Instagram, Threads, or whatever social media platform I want to publish the content on. The small chunks are the things that, like, when you post them on social media, people are like, oh yeah, that resonates. If they want to find out more, you have a link for them to be able to go back and find either the video or the blog post so that they can dive into the full published content. Okay. And then being able to just create quote graphics, if that's your thing on Instagram or Facebook or whatever platform you choose, you can pull quotable lines for visual posts, even for Pinterest posts. And then you can also extract short video clips, cutting up the YouTube video into shorts for additional reach. This is useful because some people like to consume content in smaller batches, right? So it also gives you the ability to take those shorts and put them on Instagram as Reels or TikTok if that's a place that your audience is hanging out. And if they want to learn or find out more, they can head over to your YouTube channel or your blog to get the additional content. A good example of that I personally consume is I love comedy. I love watching full episodes of comedy on YouTube. A lot of times the way that I find the comedy episodes that I'm going to watch on YouTube is from being on Facebook or Instagram and seeing a clip of the different comedy specials where the comedian shares one of their jokes as a YouTube short or an Instagram reel or a Facebook reel. And I watch that clip and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to see this whole episode. So I go and find that full episode based on that small clip that I saw. You get what I'm saying? Like, you are creating multiple things. So one piece of core content can give you 10 to 15 pieces of distributed content. And that is where the power lies. That is the power of repurposing. And the reason why this works is that It gives you consistency without overwhelm. So you're creating just one time with the one solid piece of content as opposed to creating 10 mediocre pieces of content. Your message is then reinforced, which people need to hear things multiple times in multiple different ways for it to sink in a lot of times because we're all so inundated with so much on social media and just on our phones and the news cycles and things like that. You also get to reach different audiences. Some people read emails, some people watch videos, some people scroll on social media. You get to meet people where they are at. And the best part about it is sustainable. So you can actually maintain this long term. Okay. So the key in this is choosing what your core content format is. The best core content format is really the one that you're most comfortable creating. So, a lot of times for me, it's the writing. Like, I can create the written content easier, better. My mind can kind of process and put that together. And then I can recreate from that. So, starting from an email newsletter or from a blog post is a great space for me. But if you're someone who is better and feels more comfortable on the camera, then start with recording a video. Start with your YouTube video or your video podcast, and then you can repurpose that into blog posts using the transcript, social media clips. Again, the transcript is where the gold is at. You can create quote graphics, you can create your email content. If you prefer audio, kind of the same thing, except it's just not you on video. You can start with recording a podcast episode and then again, repurpose it using the transcript. If you're like me and you prefer to start with writing, then you start by creating your blog post or your email newsletter, and then you can read it on camera to record a video and then, break it down further from there. Okay. So the key here is start with your strength and then repurpose from there. All right, so let's get into how planning, batching, and repurposing all work together. Okay, so these three strategies are most powerful when you use them together. And here's how it works in my actual content flow. Okay. So planning phase, we start out with planning like 4 to 5 tips or themes, topics, whatever you want to call them for the month, because I know that at minimum, I need 4. There's 4 weeks in the month, unless I have some planned time off or something like that. So I start out in the planning phase by planning 4 to 5 of my Tips Tuesdays topics or themes. And then I note which topics will work well together versus like longer or shorter content and things like that. And then I also try to think about any type of launches or promotions that I could use to support with the content that I'm creating. Then the next step is going to be the batching phase. This is where I block out the 3 to 4 hours every week. I'm writing those Tips Tuesdays emails, and then I'm scheduling those in my email marketing software. I use ConvertKit or Kit. That's the batching phase. Then the repurposing phase, which is ongoing, is when I am recording the video of the email, which typically happens the same day as I produce the blog post or the email. Then I have to get it uploaded to YouTube, optimize it with the descriptions and keywords and all of that. I might need to publish the blog post version in WordPress if I started with the email, or I might need to go ahead and draft the email if I started with the blog post. And then there's the creating the social media graphics or key points that I want to pull out from it and scheduling it out across the platforms using your native scheduler, whatever it is that you choose to use. My tool of choice right now is CoSchedule. I say right now because sometimes that changes. So depending on when you're watching this video, it might not be CoSchedule anymore. So the total result there is like 3 to 4 hours of focused work, which equals potentially 4 weeks or more of consistent content across multiple platforms. Again, that's manageable, that's sustainable, and that's what actually works when you are running a business. Okay. So let's talk about some common content creation mistakes that I want you to avoid. I want you to just read them here, hear them from my voice on this YouTube video or wherever you are seeing this, and learn from them here. You don't have to go learn it out in the wild, okay? So first mistake is trying to be everywhere with unique content. So attempting to create unique content for Facebook, for Instagram, for LinkedIn, for Twitter, for TikTok, for Pinterest, YouTube, and then your blog. That is where you will toss your computer and be like, F all of this. If you are like me, you will literally be like, F all this. The fix for that is picking 2 to 3 primary platforms, creating your core content, and then repurposing it across the platforms. And again, you don't even need all of them. You can pick 1 to 2 social networks where your people are hanging out at and do it well in those places, as opposed to trying to be everywhere for everyone. Okay. Quality over quantity is always going to win. The other mistake that I want you to keep in mind is creating content without a plan. You cannot skip the planning phase. If you are trying to wing it, this gets exhausting and it leads to inconsistency and it leads to mediocre content. You waste your mental energy trying to decide what to create instead of actually creating it. The way that you fix that is dedicating that time to content planning. That small investment of time is going to save you hours of decision fatigue. Ask me how I know. All right. Our next mistake that I want you to keep in mind is perfectionism over consistency. A good enough post that goes out beats a perfect post that never gets published. Your audience would rather have consistent, helpful, useful content than sporadic, perfect content because you are over analyzing everything that you are trying to put out. So the fix for that is figure out what your good enough standard is and stick to it, because done is better than perfect. For me, I have been wanting to start a YouTube channel for I don't know how long. It took forever for me to start said YouTube channel because I was overthinking and overanalyzing what content I would publish, worrying about how I would look on video. Do I need to start wearing makeup to record videos? Is my office good enough? Listen, none of that even matters. You have seen people on YouTube who build a genuine, engaged following because they just showed up. So setting that standard of what is your good enough and sticking to it is going to be better than trying to make sure you have everything perfect to get started. For me, this has been beneficial because it has helped me build my consistency, which has also given me ideas of where I can grow and improve and things that I will want to implement to just gradually make it better, not perfect, but gradually making it better and improving it over time. Okay. Next mistake is not documenting your process. If your content creation process is only existing in your head, it is going to be impossible to batch effectively or even delegate tasks and improve the system. So the fix here is documenting your process, taking notes and putting them somewhere that you can refer to, creating templates, building checklists, and making it repeatable. This makes sure that you always cover your bases if you're the one that's actually creating the content. But then as you are ready to scale and maybe bring on some help, you have it documented to train the person who is going to be helping you. You can show them exactly how you do what it is that you do so that it fits your standard. Okay. And then the last mistake is going to be creating content that does not serve your business. Every piece of content that you create should attract your ideal clients, nurture your audience, or support your business goals. And you are really in your zone if it does all three. Posting random content, it just wastes your time. Okay. So the fix here is before creating anything, asking yourself, how does this serve my business? If you cannot answer that, then you need to reconsider whatever it is that you're talking about. Okay. If all of this sounds good to you and you are watching this video, then I want you to head over to my blog and check out the blog post, which will be linked in the description down below. The blog post is going to contain an action plan for getting started. If you are ready to implement this strategy, I have created a step-by-step action plan that is going to help you get started with building out your workflow. Okay, so head over to the blog, check that out, and get started. In addition to that, I also have some tools that will support your content system, and then also link out to those as you're thinking about how you want to set this up and what tools you may want to use to get this done. All right. The long-term benefits of this system is that you are going to reduce your stress, you're going to increase your consistency, you are going to create better quality content, you are going to have more strategic content, you are going to free up your time. This is the one right here, right? Freeing up your time. We want to work smarter, not harder. So let's free up some time so we can go enjoy the lives that we're building for ourselves. And then also, you can create sustainable growth. If you need help with doing any of this, any part of this feels like, oh my gosh, this is too much. I need somebody to talk through this with me. I need somebody to do this part for me, or whatever it is. I am here to help. We can help in the studio. Book a strategy call to discuss how we can help with building out your content system so that it actually works for your business. Whether that's developing your content strategy and calendar to get you started, setting up your planning and batching systems, creating templates and workflows for being able to repurpose, choosing and setting up the right tools to support you as you do your content, training you and or your team on the process, or altogether handling the repurposing of your content for you if you need more hands-off support. So the way to get started is to book a strategy call. We can talk through those things and figure out where we can meet you at the point of your needed help, okay? Content creation does not have to be overwhelming. You do not need to spend hours every day creating content. You do not need to be on every platform. All you need is a plan, batching, and repurposing. This system works whether you are a solopreneur with limited time or you are building a team that just needs clear processes to work from. This is how you build momentum. This is how you stay consistent. And this is how you create content without burnout.